She looks like a civilian. Worn boots, no uniform, just another face on the tarmac, until Lieutenant Bradley Morrison tries to stop her from boarding the Black Hawk. Cameras roll, authority flares. But stick around. They thought Nadia Cross didn't belong. What they didn't know? She's Ghost, a decorated pilot with more classified hours than Morrison has weeks in uniform. He reached for control. She reached for her ID. And when that ghost patch surfaced, careers started dying faster than engines in a sandstorm. Where are you watching from? And what's the time there? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe to join our community. Chief Warrant Officer 5. Nadia Ghost Cross strides across the tarmac, her civilian attire a deliberate disguise. The weight of 20 years of service rides invisibly on her shoulders, hidden beneath carefully chosen casual clothes. The Black Hawk's blades slice through the morning air, creating that familiar whine that's been her lullaby for 2 decades. Everything is proceeding according to plan until Lieutenant Bradley Morrison spots her. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's chest swells with righteous authority as he quickens his pace toward this apparent civilian. His polished lieutenant's bars catch the morning sun, still new enough to shine without effort. The security camera's steady red blink catches his eye, reinforcing his sense of duty. This is his moment to prove himself. "Hey, you! Stop right there!" Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's voice booms across the tarmac, drowning out even the helicopter's whine. His hand shoots up in a commanding gesture, satisfaction coursing through him as nearby personnel turn to watch. "This is a restricted area. You're not authorized to be here." The woman in civilian clothes continues walking, seemingly unfazed. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's face flushes darker. How dare she ignore him? His hand instinctively touches his sidearm, not drawing it, but making sure she sees the motion. "I said stop! This is your final warning!" The base security camera captures every moment as Lieutenant Bradley Morrison closes the distance, positioning himself directly in her path. His boots plant firmly on the tarmac, stance wide and intimidating. "You're going to turn around and leave, or I'm calling security to escort you out in cuffs." A small crowd begins to gather, phones discreetly emerging to record what looks like a confrontation in the making. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison notices and stands even taller. Let them film. Let them see how a real officer handles security threats. "You don't belong here," he snarls, stepping closer, invading her space. "This isn't some tourist attraction. This is a military installation, and I'm in charge here." Something flickers in the woman's eyes. Not fear, but something else that makes Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's certainty waver for just a split second. But he pushes the doubt aside. He's right. He knows he's right. "Sir," a senior NCO's voice cuts through the tension. "That's Chief Warrant Officer Cross, sir. She's scheduled for the mission brief." Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's world tilts sideways. Chief Warrant Officer 5. Cross? The legendary Ghost? His hand drops from his sidearm as if burned. The crowd's phones are still recording, capturing every microsecond of his unraveling authority. Within minutes, Morrison mistake is trending on military social media channels. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison watches his reflection in a nearby window, adjusting his lieutenant's bars with trembling fingers. How had he misread this so completely? His perfect record, his promising career, all potentially stained by one moment of overzealous authority. Will his command recover from this catastrophic error in judgment? Will his career survive crossing paths with a legend? Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's fingers trace his lieutenant's bars, no longer feeling their earlier comfort. Instead, they seem to burn against his collar, a reminder of how quickly authority can become arrogance. Type authority in the comments if you've ever witnessed power crumble in an instant. Morrison. Mistake continues to gain traction as Lieutenant Bradley Morrison stands frozen, watching his carefully constructed world begin to crack. The Black Hawk's blades keep turning, indifferent to the drama unfolding beneath them, while his lieutenant's bars feel heavier with each passing second. Chief Warrant Officer Morrison strides across the tarmac, his boots striking the concrete with practiced authority. Each step reinforces his certainty, his right to control this space. The radio at his hip crackles with confirmations from security. They're on their way. Perfect. A crowd of enlisted personnel has gathered at a safe distance, their phones discreetly capturing what they assume will be another triumph for base security. Morrison's fingers trace the lieutenant's bars on his collar, a habit born from countless moments of asserting dominance. The morning sun glints off them, and he allows himself a small smile. 20 years of service had taught him that appearance was everything, and right now, he was the picture of military authority dealing with a potential threat. "You're making a serious mistake," the woman says quietly, her composure unusually steady for a civilian trespasser. Something about her calm demeanor sends an unfamiliar ripple of uncertainty through Morrison's gut, but he pushes it aside. He's seen this before. Civilians trying to bluff their way onto restricted areas. They always break under pressure. The base archive footage plays in his mind, similar incidents where his instincts proved right. That time with the contractor who had an expired badge. The journalist who tried to sneak in for a story. Each victory had reinforced his approach, earned him commendations. The system worked because people like him enforced it without hesitation. "Stand down, ma'am," Morrison commands, his voice carrying across the tarmac. "Security is en route, and this situation will be resolved according to protocol." The word protocol tastes sweet on his tongue. It's his shield, his justification, his power. But something gnaws at the edges of his certainty. The woman's bearing is different. Military, even. The way she stands, the way she assesses. His hand drifts to his own service patch, seeking reassurance. The memory of his mentor, Colonel Hayes, surfaces. "Trust your gut, but verify your assumptions." He'd dismissed that second part as weakness. A young corporal approaches with a tablet, and Morrison's eyes scan the day's flight manifest. Nothing unusual. Routine supply runs, training flights. His finger stops at an entry that makes his throat tighten. CW5 Cross, N. Special Operations Command Liaison. "Sir," the corporal whispers. "I think that's—" Morrison cuts him off with a sharp gesture. No, it can't be. He's heard the stories about the legendary ghost, but surely. His mind races through the statistics he'd once quoted in diversity training. Less than 2% of warrant officers reach CW5, and among women. The woman hasn't moved, hasn't raised her voice. She simply waits, like a predator letting prey exhaust itself. Morrison feels sweat gathering under his collar, despite the morning chill. 20 years of certainty begins to crack. His radio chirps. "Security team approaching east entrance." The words should comfort him, but instead they feel like a countdown to his own exposure. The phones are still recording. How many views will his mistake get? How many shared posts will detail his assumption? Morrison's fingers brush his lieutenant's bars again, but now they feel less like symbols of authority and more like targets. The morning sun that had seemed to spotlight his authority now feels like an interrogation lamp. The bass loudspeaker crackles again, and this time the routine announcements sound like a Greek chorus commenting on his tragedy. "Attention all personnel. Special Operations Command briefing in 30 minutes. All designated personnel report to Briefing Room Alpha." A new hashtag flashes through his mind. Hat Morrison mistake. He can already see the comments, the reposts, the career implications. His chest tightens as 2 decades of similar moments replay in his mind. How many others had he wrongly judged? How many times had his instincts really been prejudice in disguise? The security team emerges from the east entrance, and Morrison realizes he's reached a crossroads. He could double down, escalate the situation, protect his authority. Or he could. His hand falls from his collar. Sometimes the longest path teaches the best lessons, and this lesson has been 20 years in the making. Type assumptions in the comments if you've ever had your certainty shattered. The phones keep recording as Lieutenant Bradley Morrison prepares to learn the most profound lesson of his career, one that will trend across military social media by nightfall, a cautionary tale about the price of unchecked authority and the power of humbling moments. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison watches the phones recording him, their lenses like accusatory eyes, each flash a reminder of his rapidly unraveling control. His collar feels tight, choking as sweat trickles down his neck. The crowd's murmurs grow louder, their phones held high, documenting every second of his confrontation with the woman he'd mistaken for a civilian intruder. The helicopter's blades slow their rotation, each whump, 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 like a countdown to his downfall. Morrison's fingers instinctively touch the lieutenant's bars on his collar, the metal suddenly cold against his skin. 6 hours since the initial confrontation, and already hashtag Morrison mistake is trending across military forums and spreading to mainstream platforms. "Sir, Colonel Matthews requests your immediate presence," a junior officer says, avoiding eye contact. Morrison notices how the younger man keeps his distance, as if his disgrace might be contagious. The base's command center feels different now. The same halls he'd strutted through that morning now seem to close in around him. His phone buzzes constantly, news alerts, messages from fellow officers, all about the incident. The video has reached CNN Military Affairs. His stomach churns as he reads the caption, "Senior Warrant Officer Humiliated, Leadership Crisis at FOB Falcon." "Have you seen what they're saying about you, sir?" his aide whispers, showing him another screen. The comments scroll endlessly. This is what happens when ego outranks competence. Morrison's hands shake as he waves the aide away. In his office, Morrison stares at his reflection in his service awards display. The glass shows a man he barely recognizes, pale, sweating, eyes darting. He remembers his words from earlier. "Civilians don't belong here." The irony crushes him now, knowing they were directed at one of the most decorated helicopter pilots in the entire theater. His phone rings again. Personnel command. Morrison lets it go to voicemail, knowing what's coming. He opens his drawer, pulls out his command qualification badge. Once a source of pride, now it feels like lead in his hands. He remembers polishing it just that morning, admiring his reflection in its surface. Now he can't bear to look at it. The base's internal messaging system pings. Another video has surfaced from 3 months ago. Another confrontation, another mistake. The pattern is emerging, and Morrison feels the walls closing in. His past decisions, his quick judgments, his assumptions, they're all coming back to haunt him. Type, Leadership fails if you've seen authority crumble, scrolls across one of the viral posts, already gathering thousands of responses. Through his office window, Morrison watches Chief Warrant Officer Cross walking confidently across the tarmac, her ghost patch now prominently displayed. Personnel gather around her, respect evident in their postures. The same personnel who used to jump to attention for him now avoid his gaze. Have you ever watched your world collapse in real time? Morrison thinks, gripping his desk until his knuckles turn white. Have you felt the ground disappear beneath your feet, knowing you dug your own grave? The base loudspeaker crackles. Lieutenant Morrison, report to Colonel Matthews immediately. His legs feel like lead as he stands. The walk to command will take him past the same spot where it all began, where his prejudice and arrogance collided with reality in front of dozens of witnesses and cameras. The videos keep spreading, the hashtags keep trending, and Lieutenant Bradley Morrison realizes that in trying to enforce his authority, he's lost it entirely. His command qualification badge catches the light one last time as he places it in his pocket, knowing it might be the last time he carries it. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's world crumbles in slow motion as Colonel Mitchell's footsteps echo across the tarmac. The sound slices through Morrison's consciousness like a blade, mixing with the thundering of his own heartbeat. His fingers, which moments ago had gripped his authority like a shield, now tremble slightly at his sides. The metallic click of Chief Warrant Officer Cross's credentials feels like a gunshot to Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's ears. He watches, paralyzed, as the ghost patch emerges from her pocket. That legendary symbol he's heard whispered about in mess halls and briefing rooms. The realization crashes over him like Arctic water. He's just attempted to dress down one of the most elite operators in the entire theater. I believe you were saying something about authorization, Lieutenant Morrison? The words drift from Cross's lips, calm as still water, but they hit him like physical blows. Each syllable strips away another layer of his carefully constructed superiority. The bass klaxon's sudden blare makes Lieutenant Bradley Morrison flinch visibly. Its deep, resonant tone seems to mock him, announcing his humiliation to the entire forward operating base Falcon. He feels the weight of every eye on the tarmac. The crew chief paused mid-checklist, the mechanics who've stopped their work, and worst of all, Colonel Mitchell's steely gaze. I didn't... The words stick in Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's throat like sand. His hand unconsciously reaches for his lieutenant's bars, a habit he's developed when asserting his authority. But now the metal feels cold, almost accusatory, against his fingertips. Colonel Mitchell's voice cuts through the tension. Lieutenant Morrison, I see you've met Chief Warrant Officer Cross. Perhaps this is a good moment to review our protocols on proper identification procedures and basic respect. The viral moment Lieutenant Bradley Morrison has dreaded materializes as he spots a junior enlisted member quickly pocketing their phone. He can already imagine the hashtag Morrison Meltdown spreading across military social media channels, his error becoming a cautionary tale in leadership courses. Sir, I was just following security protocols. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's attempt at justification sounds hollow even to his own ears. The ghost patch seems to glow against Cross's uniform, a silent rebuke to every assumption he's made today. Type respect if you've ever seen authority crumble in the face of true leadership. The rotor wash from the helicopter builds as Chief Warrant Officer Cross moves past him, each step measured and deliberate. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison stands rooted, watching his carefully constructed world of authority and assumptions dissolve in the wake of her quiet power. His lieutenant's bars feel heavier now, weighted with the responsibility he's failed to honor. In the space of minutes, Lieutenant Bradley Morrison has become the embodiment of everything he once criticized in others: prejudice masked as protocol, authority without wisdom. The bass klaxon sounds again, but this time it seems to herald the end of something. Perhaps the end of Lieutenant Bradley Morrison's old way of thinking. As he watches Chief Warrant Officer Cross board her helicopter, he realizes that sometimes the most powerful weapon against prejudice isn't force or regulation. It's the quiet dignity of someone who knows exactly who they are, standing their ground in the face of ignorance. Lieutenant Bradley Morrison stands at parade rest, watching the Black Hawk lift into the golden Iraqi dawn. His perfectly pressed uniform, once his armor of arrogance, now feels like a reminder of his monumental mistake. The rotor wash whips dust around him, but he doesn't flinch or move to protect his immaculate appearance anymore. The gleaming lieutenant's bars on my collar, the ones I'd polished religiously every morning, catch the light differently now. They feel heavier, weighted with the understanding of what true authority means. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Cross's ghost patch becomes a haunting symbol as it disappears into the morning sky, a reminder of how spectacularly wrong I'd been. Just hours ago, I'd been the epitome of what a young officer shouldn't be. The memory of my voice, dripping with condescension, echoes in my mind. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area. Civilians aren't authorized near these aircraft." The words taste like ash now, each syllable a testament to my prejudice. The viral video spreading through the base's secure networks shows it all. My aggressive stance, my hand reaching for her arm, the absolute certainty in my voice as I tried to remove who I thought was just another civilian contractor. Ghost teaches trends on the internal messaging systems, a digital monument to my humbling. My commanding officer's words still ring in my ears. "Lieutenant Morrison, you just attempted to detain one of our most decorated helicopter pilots, the ghost of Fallujah." Perhaps this is a lesson about assumptions you needed to learn. The weight of those words sits heavier than any rucksack I've ever carried. I touch my collar insignia one last time, my symbol of authority that had become a shield for my arrogance. The morning sun catches it, and for a moment I see my reflection. The face looking back isn't the same lieutenant who started his shift yesterday. The helicopter is just a speck now, carrying Chief Warrant Officer Cross to whatever critical mission awaits. But she's left behind something more valuable than any tactical briefing could provide: a profound understanding that true authority resides in competence, not rank, in character, not appearance. "Sir?" A young specialist approaches, tablet in hand. "The command briefing is trending. They're using your incident as a teaching moment about leadership and prejudice." I nod, accepting this new role, becoming a cautionary tale for future officers. "Good. Let them learn from my mistake. Heaven knows I have." The base slowly comes alive around me, but I remain rooted in place until the Black Hawk disappears completely. The dust settles at my feet, and with it, my old notions of what makes a leader crumble away. Type learned. If this story changed your perspective on true leadership. My lieutenant's bars will stay perfectly polished, but now they remind me not of my authority, but of my responsibility. To be better. To learn. To lead with wisdom instead of assumption. Chief Warrant Officer Cross didn't need to announce her authority. She simply was who she was, and that was more than enough. In the end, it wasn't her ghost patch that taught me the most important lesson of my career. It was her quiet dignity in the face of my arrogance. True authority never needs to shout. It whispers in actions, in competence, in the quiet confidence of those who have earned their place. Share this story, if you believe leadership is about character, not just rank. Ghost teaches. The sun climbs higher over Phobie Falcon, and I finally turn away from the empty sky. There's work to be done, reports to file, and a new lieutenant to become. One who understands that authority isn't given by rank alone. It's earned through respect, wisdom, and the humility to admit when you're wrong.